The Ottoman Empire was one of the most powerful empires in the world for over 6 centuries. Under Ottoman rule, the empire saw a boom in science, economy, and culture. However, the empire wasn't without its faults and ruthless politics. Shahzada Mustafa was one of the many victims of the ruthless politics of the empire. Who was Shahzada Mustafa? Shahzada Mustafa was a very popular prince of the Ottoman Empire. He was the son of the Ottoman dynasty's popular Emperor Suleiman the Magnificent and one of his concubines, Mahidevran Hatun. Mustafa had 2 older brothers, Shahzada Murad and Shahzada Mahmud. However, both of them died in a plague in 1520. This resulted in Mustafa becoming the oldest son and the rightful heir to his father's throne. Suleiman the Magnificent had many concubines. However, when in 1533 Suleiman married one of his concubines, Roxelana, that was the start of Shahzada Mustafa's downfall. How did Sultan Suleiman's marriage to Roxelana result in the downfall of Shahzada Mustafa? After the death of his 2 older brothers, Mustafa became the heir to his father's empire. However, Suleiman preferred his sons Mehmed, Selim, and Bayezid, who were his sons from Roxelana. The Ottoman Empire usually followed an open succession where if the emperor had more than one son, they would go to war with each other, and the one with more power could come out as a victor and take the throne. This wasn't always the case, but when there were succession battles, they were bloody and usually ended with one of the princes killing his brothers and nephews to secure the throne for themselves. Shahzada Mustafa was both powerful and popular. He was loved by the Janissaries, and many believed that he could take control of the empire even when his father was alive. This did not sit well with Suleiman and the supporters of Roxelana's sons who wanted to see either Selim or Mehmed take the throne. These succession battles and the resulting executions tainted the otherwise great empire. Shahzada Mustafa's personality. Shahzada Mustafa was well liked by the people. He was a great warrior, but this wasn't his only quality. He was intelligent and courageous, and he showed his good governance skills when he governed Manisa for 8 years and Amasya for 12 years until his death. The only problem was that the people who did not like Mustafa were very powerful people. Who plotted against Shahzada Mustafa? As previously mentioned, Shahzada Mustafa had powerful enemies. These included the Sultan himself, his Russian wife Roxelana, and the Grand Vizier Rustem Pasha, who was also the son-in-law of the Sultan by marriage to Mihrimah Sultan. As a Grand Vizier, Rustem Pasha held a lot of power, and he was instrumental in the downfall of Shahzada Mustafa. Mihrimah was the full sister of Selim, Mehmed, and Bayezid, and this might have been the motivation why Rustem Pasha wanted Shahzada Mustafa out of the picture, filling the Sultan's years against Shahzada Mustafa. There were many people in court, including Rustem Pasha and Roxelana, who often filled the emperor's years with things that made him go against Shahzada Mustafa. They would tell him how Mustafa is popular with the Janissaries and how he would come and take the throne from the emperor. Over time, Suleiman started to believe all these things. He wasn't just concerned about himself, but also about his sons from Roxelana, who he thought would face execution if Shahzada Mustafa came into power. The Safavid plot. During Suleiman's reign, the Ottoman Empire faced the Safavids multiple times. Rustem Pasha applied his cunningness to devise a plot to label Shahzada Mustafa as a traitor to the empire. Rustem Pasha forged Shahzada Mustafa's seal and wrote a deceptive letter to the Safavids, who were at war with the Ottomans. The letter was about helping Shahzada Mustafa take the Ottoman throne from his father. The Safavid ruler, Tahmasp I, seeing Shahzada Mustafa's seal, considered it to be a letter from him and replied in a positive way. The return letter was intercepted by Rustem Pasha's men, and the letter was taken to him, who then showed it to the other people at court, thus labeling Shahzada Mustafa an ally of the Safavids and traitor to the throne. However, this does not mean that Mustafa did not send messages to other governors and rulers from the surrounding areas for political support. He was eyeing support from other governors, but made sure to mention in the letter that he did not want to overthrow his father and wanted support in case there was a successful battle after his father's death. He also sent diplomatic missions to other empires and kingdoms as well. He got several positive responses, as many people thought of him as better suited for the throne than his brothers. He had amassed a lot of power and support, and had he not been executed, he would have crushed his brother's rebellion. The death of Shahzada Mustafa. Shahzada Mustafa got stronger. The scheming and plotting from Suleiman and his court also got stronger. Suleiman realized that it was time to eliminate the threat so that one of his more preferred sons could take over the throne after him. In 1553, Shahzada Mustafa was summoned by Sultan Suleiman. Mustafa was the governor of Amasya at this time. On 6 October 1553, Shahzada Mustafa reached his father's army camp in Eregli, Konya. As soon as he entered his father's tent, he was jumped on by multiple people who strangled him to death. In the old days, succession battles were always bloody, but there are few who died as tragically as Shahzada Mustafa. An heir to one of the most powerful empires in the world, slain on the orders of his father. Some of his allies were also killed. Their bodies were placed outside the Sultan's tent for everyone to see. When a prince or heir died in the Ottoman Empire, a big funeral was arranged. However, for Mustafa, a simple funeral was arranged, and his body was transported to Bursa, where other members of the Ottoman dynasty were buried. The aftermath of the execution. As mentioned earlier, other than the few powerful enemies in Sultan Suleiman's court, Shahzada Mustafa was a very well-liked person in the realm, so his death naturally attracted a lot of problems for the Sultan. There was widespread grief in the empire, and to lessen the anger of the people, Suleiman fired Rustam from his position of the Grand Vizier. Did Suleiman really kill his son? There are some who think that Suleiman might not have ordered the killing of his son Mustafa, but it was all a result of scheming and plotting of other nobility at court, including Roxolana and Rustam Pasha. However, Suleiman might be called magnificent, but he was ruthless, and most accounts show that it was he who ordered the killing of his own son and heir. The suffering for Mustafa's family didn't last there. After Mustafa was killed, Suleiman made sure that his other sons didn't face any challenges from Shahzada Mustafa's family, and that is why he even killed the young children of Shahzada Mustafa, including 8-year-old Shahzada Mehmed. His daughters were allowed to live and were married off to powerful people in the realm by Sultan Suleiman to strengthen his position. The death of Mustafa and his sons caused a public outrage that extended further outside the boundaries of the empire. King Ahir, one of Roxolana's sons, is said to have been close to Mustafa, and it is believed that he died of grief just a few months after receiving the news of his half-brother's death. The civil war after the death of Mustafa. After Suleiman killed Mustafa, he thought that the pathway of one of his other sons from Roxolana was clear. However, what he did not anticipate was the civil war between the two full brothers, Bayezid and Salim. Suleiman took Salim's side, which caused Bayezid to run away to the Safavids. However, Suleiman told the Safavids' leader to execute or extradite Bayezid and his sons in exchange for a hefty amount of gold. Safavid complied and allowed an Ottoman executioner to kill Bayezid and his sons, same as Suleiman killed Shahzada Mustafa and his sons. Many people at that time thought that Shahzada Mustafa would have been a better ruler than his father, and would have not only made the empire better, but would also have good relations with the surrounding areas. The story of Shahzada Mustafa is a sad one, not just for him and his family, but also for the Ottoman Empire as a whole. His death was a tragedy and a tale of cruelty even for the 16th century, as he wasn't killed by his brothers or other pretenders to the throne, but by his own father.